Hi guys, so today's video I'm going to be showing you how I am making some hot rice sock animals for my kids. This is actually going to be a Christmas present. So I filmed it a little while ago, but you know. So you need a sock, and then you need to decide which parts of the sock you're going to use for what, and then start cutting. So for me, I'm going to use this top part, the cuff up at the top, for his legs, and then the leg part of the sock I'm going to be using for his body, I think. And then I'm going to use the toe for his arms. I need to make sure, no, sorry, not the toe. I could have used the toe, but I'm going to use the toe for the head. I'm going to use this part for his arms, and I want them to be about the same length as his legs, because it's going to be a dog, not a person, and dogs' arms and legs, although technically they're all legs, but you know, they're basically the same length, so I want those to be about the same. That's probably going to be ears, and then the rest of it's going to be his head. So, get all that out of the way. Get your first piece. Get your needle. Get your thread. Turn it inside out so you can have a nice, even, flat seam. And after you thread your needle, you want to put an anchor stitch in the end. Basically, I just stick my needle back through the thread so that the knot can't be pulled all the way through. Excuse me. Then you're going to do blanket stitch across, just because it's a good stitch for stretchy materials, knit materials, because it if you do just a straight stitch, it has a tendency to bunch up. So blanket stitch is really your best option for this part. Alright, so after you've stitched all the way across, well, after I've stitched all the way across, I'm basically just going to go back and stitch in between my previous stitches. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful stitch work because it's going to be turned out the other way. You won't even really see it. You just want to make sure that your stitches are really close together so that the rice doesn't leak out. Especially when children start like pulling it or throwing it or swinging it around, because you know they will inevitably end up doing that because that's what kids do. So I'm just going to go back and stitch in between my stitches to make that space as small as possible. Alright, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to tie off the end. And what I like to do is I like to stitch under a stitch and then pull one side back out and tie my knot over that stitch so that my anchor knot doesn't slip, my end anchor knot doesn't slip out either. So you can't see very good. It is difficult to do things right under a camera sometimes. But yeah, get that all tied off real good. nice and tight so it doesn't flip. And then that's a nice good seam. You can flip it right side out and see if you missed any spots. And that one's good, so I'm going to start stitching across the top. Now, I did turn it back inside out, but obviously I can't stitch all the way across the inside or it'll just be stuck inside out. So what you do, I'm gonna kind of angle it off or round it off so that it's not so square at the top, it's more like shoulders. And I'm gonna leave the middle part open so that I can put my rice in and turn it around the right way. So now that I've stitched over one side, and I'm gonna just take my thread through the middle, not actually stitching it, and I'm gonna clip off this corner so it lays better. I don't need all that extra material in there. I'm going to blanket stitch across that because before I clipped it, I just did a straight stitch, which, as I mentioned before, is not the best. Alright, so I'm going to leave that middle piece open and just carry my thread to the other side. Just a little stitch so it's not hanging loose, but that middle space is still open. And I'll do a straight stitch through here to mark my seam. And then I'll cut this top corner off, just like I did on the other side. And do blanket stitch up. So now that I've done that corner, it is time to, well, almost done. I need a little bit more thread, which is one of my personal things that I really hate is running out of thread. When I was a kid, I would use like scraps of material and thread to make little doll clothes, and I always hated when I got down to the end of the needle because I didn't want to waste my scraps of thread. But it was such a pain trying to tie little teeny tiny knots. Anyway, so just take that through, pull one side back out, just like that, and then I can use that to tie the knot. This one is a little bit short, but still plenty tieable. Not going to give yourself a headache trying to tie it in a knot. Alright, so now that that's all stitched across properly, I'm going to flip it right side out. And that's a good shape. And now it's time to fill it with some rice. So I'm using this funnel to fill it up because trying to just pour it in that little hole would be ridiculous. So I got my funnel, and I got my cheap rice. Don't use anything fancy, just get your store brand, off brand, short grain, nasty stuff that you wouldn't actually really want to eat. And pour in the funnel. Now it works easier if you use a stick. And it works easier if you put that stick in before you put the rice in. I kind of forgot about it, but you get a long stick in there like a paintbrush and put it all the way through the hole. And you just keep moving it around so that the rice can fall through. Just like this. And you stick it all the way through. And then when you pour the rice in, it can't jam up, which is what happens if you don't use a stick. If you pull it back out, then it's going to jam up again, so you want to make sure you keep it pushed all the way through. So now I'm going to stitch across the top, and yes, I am going to pick up all these little pieces of rice that I dropped, because I'm a little bit on the crazy side. So I want to stitch this so that the seams are together. Make it a nice smooth seam. Nice and straight, nice and tight so the rice can't leak out. You just kind of go back and forth in between the two sides, and it makes a bit of an invisible seam. I don't know if you can see that really good. I tried to get it up against the camera so it's more obvious. But basically you do a stitch in one side, and then you come back and do a stitch in the other side. And allow your stitches to overlap a little bit so that there's no spaces in your seam. And I don't know if it's called a zigzag stitch. It might be. But basically you're just zigzagging back and forth in between your two sides to create that seam. So now that I've stitched across here and it's good and tight, no rice gonna get out of there, we're good. Oops. And the bottom seam is good. All the seams are good. So now it's time to tie off my thread, and I'll leave a longer string and then show you how I hide them. So just tie that real good. And then I rethread the string onto my needle, and I just stitch it back through whatever I've made and clip it off on the outside so that it's not a short string that's going to come undone at some point, but it's not just hanging out there looking awkward and being annoying. Because if you cut the string too short next to the knot and it gets pulled too much, the knot can slip out and then your seam comes undone. So it's always good to leave a longer thread and then just hide it. So I just stick it through here, push it as far through as I can, pull it out the other side somewhere, and then clip off that little bit of extra that's sticking out. And there's his little belly. Little rice sock belly. You have his arms on the side, his head up here, 2 legs. And should be pretty good. So this is the piece I'm going to be using for the legs, and this is the piece I'm going to use for the arms. So I just need to get these ready, cut it in half, get some strings off of it. Don't need any of those loose ends hanging around. So just get those cut. So for the legs, I did use blanket stitch again. And the reason I used blanket stitch is because it anchors the material.
Especially when working with socks or other kinds of knit material. It's easy for a straight stitch to get bunched up and not lay smooth.
Basically, it just helps keep the material smooth so the stitches don't bunch up together.
I did blanket stitch along the edge. I'm not going to do it on the bottom. I'm going to leave the bottom open for now because later I'm going to
Leaving the bottom.
stitches to make it look like a little paw, kind of. So
I was leaving this open
see, you can see the stitches
so that I could enclose it later with embroidery thread to make like a little paw, which I didn't end up doing. But you could close it or leave it open. It really doesn't matter. I'm just tucking those little ends in. And then I can attach to the bottom there.
But I'm not going to stitch the pieces together when there's potential for children coming to see. So that'll go on there like that.
So I'm basically just making all the pieces, and then sometime when the kids aren't around watching me, I'll hook them together. So now that I have the arms or the legs done, I'm going to work on the head, and I think I'm gonna make it kind of pointed at the bottom because it's supposed to be like a dog, so make it have kind of a pointed snout, maybe a fox, I don't know, a dog or a fox, but it'll have kind of a pointed face. So I'm just kind of lightly drawing out with a pencil the shape that I want. And then I can cut it and stitch it, or stitch it and cut it out. And I thought I'd use a cup for comparison so I can see the size, but that was obviously way too big. So I'm just doing it freehand and Just kind of trimming that off to the size and the shape that I want. Not exactly heart-shaped, obviously, but that kind of a rounder at the top, pointed at the bottom. Just trimming off all the little edges, getting a nice, even, smooth, try and make it symmetrical as much as possible. Then I'm just going to flip it around, so right sides together, just like it would be if it was inside out. And then I'll just do stitching around and leave a space open for rice. There we go. Got it all stitched up except for my small opening. Gonna turn it right side out, and then I can fill it up with some rice and finish it off. I'll just pass my needle through so it's on the outside of my work. So I'm all ready to go. And I get my funnel and stick it in the hole. Grab my paintbrush, stick that in there, and pour in some rice. Now you won't need as much as you do with the body because the head is obviously much smaller. So try not to pour too much in there because it'll be a mess if you have extra left over, which is basically what I did. And once again, I'm gonna spill some of that rice on the counter. Yep, it's inevitable, but I've got it in the head, and I'm gonna get all that in there, and then I can stitch it up and get it attached to the body. So just like I did with the body, I'm going to do a zigzag stitch across to close up this hole, and it becomes basically an invisible stitch, so it looks like you stitched it from the inside, and it keeps everything nice and sealed up so that the rice doesn't come falling out. So now that I've got his head all stitched up, it is time to work on his arms, and I'm just gonna round the ends of those a little bit so they, I don't know, they look a little bit more gentle, a little bit softer, more like hands. The feet I have are very square, which isn't realistic at all, but I like them that way, so it's alright. I'm just gonna round off these hands, and then I'll do blanket stitch around the edge. Alright, so now that that's done, I am going to use the toe to make the two ears, kind of rounded at the bottom and triangular and pointed at the top, a little bit elongated. Yeah, like that. I guess I'll do the tail first, actually. I think that actually those will be my ears later. But I'm going to do the tail first because that's easy. Sometimes you need to take a little break and just get an easy thing done so you can say that you've done it. So I'm just going to use this little strip, and I'm not going to bother to try and turn it inside out. So I did blanket stitch all the way around the tail. I've got legs, I've got arms, I've got a head, I've got a tail. The only thing I really need now are the ears, which are of course the most annoying part to try and get them to look right. I said earlier, I think that these are meant to be comfy and warm, cute, but not necessarily very realistic. But I do want it to have nice floppy ears, so that'll take a little bit of thinking, I guess. One on each side. Now give it a nose, eyes, arms, legs. So there's my two little ears. I figured I'll kind of hook them so they flop down. Put a little stitch in the corner so they flop over. And they can flip around. It'd be cute, hopefully. And there's two of them. So now that I've done blanket stitch around the edges, I'm gonna stitch them on, but not right at the top, kind of a little bit behind so they can flop over the front. You know, kind of sort of like real dogs do.
Zigzag stitch.
I'm just gonna hook them on with the same zigzag stitch.
Stitch them on really good.
Just make sure that you stitch them on really good, because little kids like to chew on them and pull on them and stuff.
Carry them by, chew on, or pull on, whatever.
So just make sure you get them stitched on extra good. Give them some extra stitches on the end.
Yeah, I just put a little tacked stitch in this corner here.
I just put a little stitch in the corner to keep it flopped over.
By itself and kind of.
Over time, it'll get its own character and figure out its own shape. But for right now, I'm just giving it a little stitch to help keep it down.
All the way around. And tack the edges a little bit. It'll give it a little curve to it.
There's one ear done. Pretty good.
Stitch across there so it's stitched on both sides and then
So now I've got both his ears on. They're flopped down nicely. So now I just have to attach the head to the body. And I'll use that same zigzag stitch again on the back. All right, there we go. So we have a little dog. Well, little dog body with a little dog head, ears, little curved over ears. Needs a nose and eyes. Nose. Attach his arms and legs, and his tail, of course. I'm pretty happy with the way he turned out. And I guess now it is time to put his arms on. One there, one there. Everybody needs 2 arms, right? Even sock dogs. And then there's his legs. And they'll go down there like that. Yeah, I'm very pleased with how it's coming along. So, time to attach his arms. Oh, almost forgot his tail. That's where his tail will go. Nothing fancy, just a little tail. Keep him balanced. Well, then, we have a sock dog with his arms and his floppy ears, his feet, and of course his little waggly tail. His nice squishy rice tummy. All he needs is eyes and a nose, and he'll be done. Yep, I think he's just about perfect. Now, what color am I going to do his eyes? Let's see. Well, I got this nice little beigey pink for his nose, and I think I'm going to make his eyes blue. Because it's a blue sock. So, blue matches. And I'll just make a little triangle nose with a little mouth underneath. Just like you would if you were drawing a cat. And then 2 little round eyes. So I just wanted to show you guys a quick trick that I have for hiding the tail ends of my embroidery thread after I've embroidered his eyes and his nose on. And that's just to, after I've tied it off, I re-thread the end of the string. And if you can get it on there, try not to cut it too short. And then you just sew it back through your embroidery and carry it all the way through the other side of whatever you're embroidering. So I've taken it out through the back of his head. And I'll do it again with this one. If I can get it on there. And then just stick it in to the embroidered space. And push it all the way through to the back. Pull it out. And then I can flip it over. You can see the little tails of embroidery thread. And just clip it. And then that tail is hidden inside the sock animal. That works with rice sock animals or regular sock animals. And those tails won't come undone because they're still an inch or so long. They're just hidden inside. So there you have it. He's all finished. His little tail is strong enough to hold him. His arms are strong enough to hold him. Both ways, swing him around, dance with him. You know, whatever little kids might want to do. Try and rip his legs off. He's got a nose and his eyes. Squishy belly. And he is all done. And I'm pretty pleased with him. Now, all I have to do is make 2 more. I think I'm going to use these ones. There's this sock with its little rainbow polka dots, and I think that is going to be a rabbit. And then, yeah, we'll see how they turn out. Rabbits, you know, it'll be a little rounder because it's a rabbit, not a dog. Rabbits tend to be chubby. Give them a little tail. And this one is going to be a cat. And those little stripes will be part of his belly, I think. And have little pointy ears, just like a little kitty ought to. Use that part. Maybe take that off. I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet. But we'll get there. I won't show you the whole thing because you've already seen how I do it. And doing 3 of them would just get a little bit too long and monotonous. So, here's sock doggy, sock animal, rice sock animal number 1. Need some tea. And I guess it's time to get to work on the other ones. He is rather cute. His little eyes, his floppy arms. Alright, time to get to work. Well, there you have it. Little sock kitty. I think he's my favorite. So, sock cat. Sock rabbit. The rabbit wasn't the best. The sock was a little bit too stretchy. Ended up very round. Had to do a lot of adjusting. But we have a dog and a rabbit and a cat. And they're all very cute and cuddly and squishy. Need names. But that's not my job.